welcome in to another Wealth Guardian show. Yes, I'm Doug Ray. I am your host today. And, always on this show, I like to start out by giving a big thank you and salute out to all of our service members, veterans, and first providers. Thank you so much for everything that you do and sacrifice for us. I guess if you've been listening this week, you've heard my tease, my promo for today's show. I started out by saying, I hate annuities and you should too. That is what one financial advisor has spent literally millions of dollars advertising all over the country. And I wanted to invite in a special guest today, Mr. Brian Bailey, for us to have a conversation about annuities, because I'll tell you, I do use them. I use them a lot. But I find that so many people, when they first come in and they sit down with me, are completely, they misunderstand. There's myths. They think different things that aren't true about annuities. So what I want to do is I want to cut to the chase today, and let's Brian and I talk about annuities and how they are good and how they are not good in different aspects. So about my guest, Brian Bailey. Brian and I have worked together for, 5, 6, 7 years now. And what Brian does for me, he is a member of a company called Financial Independence Group over in Cornelius. And Financial Independence Group helps advisors like myself with different types of investment and insurance products. For example, annuities, long-term care, life insurance. Brian actually is the specialist in the annuity department. And what they do for us is a ton of work. They scour the entire universe of annuities out there and try to bring us the best product that will perform the best over time for our clients. So, without any further ado, let me welcome in Mr. Brian Bailey to the show. Hey, Brian.
Morning, Doug. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to this show because, like I said a moment ago, people are so confused and misunderstand annuities. Let's try to clear the air on a little bit. First off, some basics. Tell us what an annuity is and the different varieties.
So, annuities are actually an instrument, actually a contract between you and an insurance company. And essentially what they were originally designed to do was provide an income stream for a life purpose. And they have certainly evolved from that point. But we've seen them now. Since I've been doing this for the many years I've been doing it, we've actually seen them evolved more into savings type vehicles, and then also used for income purpose. But the generalities of them are more designed around savings. There are a couple of different types. There are deferred annuities, and there are also immediate annuities. So immediate annuities are the annuities that you would put your money into and give you a direct income stream right away. Deferred annuity is more of that savings type of vehicle. And inside of deferred annuities, there are all kinds of different complex vehicles. There are the variable annuity, which are market driven. They use sub accounts to give you returns based on some stock market, mutual fund, things like that. There are also then fixed annuities, which are giving you a straight interest rate. And then there are also what I call a hybrid type, which are index annuities, and that's really a hybrid between the fixed annuity and the variable annuity. The index annuity is give you a market-linked return, but also designed not to take market risk from your portfolio.
So kind of to sum things up, here's sort of what I tell folks when they come in. There's 4 varieties. The immediate annuity, just think pension. That's what you're doing. You're creating a lifetime pension. The fixed annuity, just think like bank CD, because that's kind of what it is. It's a fixed rate of interest for a fixed term, and just like a CD, it matures, and you can roll it over or take your money out and do something different with it. A variable annuity, think 401k, because that's what it looks like. It's an annuity with a bunch of mutual funds in it. You call them sub-accounts, but that's what they are. And then the hybrid now is the indexed annuity, which kind of is a combination of a fixed annuity and a variable annuity. I'll never forget the very first annuity I ever sold. Was probably a year or two in the business with Merrill Lynch, and it was a fixed annuity. And catch this, Brian. This was a 10-year guarantee, 8% per year compounded annual rate of interest.
Wow, I'd like to pick up one of those today.
Oh, dude, I'd have people lined up out my door clear out to I-40 for that thing. Man. Specifically what I want to try to concentrate on today is an indexed annuity, because we see that used quite a bit in retirement planning. And if you just joined us, this is the Wealth Guardian Show here on 94.5 WPTI, and we're talking annuities, the pros and the cons. And with Brian Bailey, he is my special guest today. So one of the things I'd like to offer our listeners today, if you have an annuity vehicle of any type and you have questions about it, maybe you have no idea why you bought it in the first place, but maybe you do. What I'd like to offer you is an evaluation of your annuity. You may have an absolutely great annuity doing exactly what it was meant to do for your portfolio, or you may have something totally obsolete that you really don't need anymore. And if you do, you need to know about it, and because something can be done about it. It's just like anything else. Annuities over time can get old and obsolete. You can trade them in, just like an old car. You can trade them in and get something brand new with all the new features and whistles and bells. And we'll talk about whistles and bells on these annuity products here in a minute. So if you've got an annuity, you don't understand it, you want some clear-cut answers, give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. All right, Brian, let's get into indexed annuities. I have been using them in portfolios since about 1998. And for those who have tuned in and don't really know what an indexed annuity is, let me just kind of give a quick definition. It is a savings vehicle that is indexed to some type of market index or component that has a portion of that index upside potential, but none of the index's downside potential. So did I get that about right?
That's right. That's exactly how it works.
Okay. So what I find out about indexed annuities when people either have them in their portfolio or they come in and we talk about them, they misunderstand them. They are, I guess they just either didn't hear their advisor correctly or whatever, but there's a lot of moving parts to any annuity vehicle, and indexed annuities in particular. First off, let's talk about the index itself. Tell me the different types of indexes that are built into some of these tools.
Well, right now there are tons of them. When they were first originally designed, most of them, about 95% of them use the S&P 500 as its index link, and many of them still use the S&P 500 as far as its overall index link. But we've seen, other companies come in with different types of indexes to be able to give a client a different type of perspective, like the Dow Jones, or some of them now have foreign indexes that are built in them. Some of them have gold indexes that are built in them. So there are tons of different types of indexes, but the standard, has always been S&P 500 as far as the index link, and that's generally the standard.
Yeah, I remember when I first started using indexed annuities. Basically, that's all it was the S&P 500, and now, as you say, you can get commodity indexes, gold indexes. There's even one I know of. You can do a short S&P 500 index. Mm-hmm. So the word rider pops up quite a bit when we're in the world of annuities. What is a rider?
So a rider is something that you can add on to the policy. Generally it adds some type of a guarantee. That's really why you would want a rider on an annuity contract, is to add an additional guarantee on it.
So it's kind of like when you're buying a new car, you can add options, right?
Absolutely.
And those additional options, they cost money. Do these riders cost money?
Absolutely. All of them have some type of structured cost.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked about the four varieties of annuities earlier, the immediate, the fixed, the variable, and the index annuity. Do you have riders for all four of those?
Almost all of them. Generally, you don't have riders on immediate annuities, but any type of a deferred annuity, most carriers will have some type of rider that can be added onto the contract.
Okay, so what are these riders? Let's talk about these options.
Sure. So we have riders like income riders. That's the most popular one today. That's what we're seeing. I would say probably 80% of policies that are written, and the number may be more than that, but I would my best guess would be at least 80% of annuity contracts that are written today are written with some type of an income rider on the contract.
And then there's also probably a death benefit rider.
Death benefit riders. Also, if you get outside of the index annuity, there are, inside of variable annuities, there are riders that are principal guarantee riders. Those things are additional fee structures that, within those contracts.
Well, Brian, we've only got about a minute or so left in this segment. When we come back from break, I really want to dig deep into these riders, because here's where this is an area where I find most people really stumble. They just don't understand how these things work. They don't understand what they've bought. They don't understand the cost of these things. I mean, some of these riders can add 2-3% a year in the fee in your annuity, especially if you're talking about a variable annuity. So I want to dig deep into that. I want to dig deep into the income rider, because I find that is either grossly missold or grossly misunderstood. I'm not sure which it is, because if you've ever been told, I can guarantee you a 6 or a 7% per year return on this annuity, they're talking about the income rider. They're not talking about your actual growth of that annuity. So when we come back, we're going to dig deep into these myths and mysteries about annuities. You're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show right here on 94.5 WPTI, the Piedmont's news, talk, and sports station.
I don't remember what day it was.
And we're back. This is the Wealth Guardian Show on 94.5 WPTI. My name's Doug Ray, and with me today is Brian Bailey. And we are talking about annuities, myth, fact, and misconceptions, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly. When we broke away from our last segment, we were talking about the different options you can put on these, and one of them that I really want to in this segment drill deep into is this income rider. This is a rider, an option that will guarantee the growth of your money over a certain period of time at a certain rate of interest, say 6%, 7%. They used to have 8%. I don't think there's anything out there anymore that has that. Could be. Most of them were compounded annual rates of return, and some of them were just simple interest. But folks, what an income rider does is it grows that money so that one day in the future you can basically turn it into a lifetime income. You cannot use that money as a withdrawal base. You cannot take that money out lump sum, and you can't lump sum have that go to a beneficiary. In a way, I call it funny money. Now, Brian, get back into the conversation here. Am I right, wrong, in the middle?
Yeah, you're right on track, Doug. I mean, the biggest misconception I think of income riders today is the roll-up rate. In the industry, we call it the roll-up rate. This is the guaranteed actuarial rate that the insurance company gives a consumer to calculate this income that you're talking about. But a lot of people are selling this as a rate of return, or even if they're not selling it as a rate of return, that's really what a lot of consumers hear. They hear the interest rate and they think that it's a rate of return. So, I think it's our job really in the industry to help people understand that this is really not a rate of return. What it really is a guaranteed rate to help design the insurance company payout down the road. And at the end of the day, what these income riders are designed to do is give you a guaranteed payout, and that is the bottom line number that you're looking for. Not necessarily what is the income roll-up rate, but what is the real payout number that I'm receiving at the time that I'm going to take income. Because just like you said, there are all kinds of different varying rates. We have them, and by the way, there are some rates that are higher than 6 and 7%, but they're simple interest rates. They're not compound. Which is a whole nother probably segment that we could do on the radio. But I've seen them right now at 10% simple or 6% compound. 6.5 and 1 or a dozen, whatever you want to call it. It's essentially, this interest rate is to me not necessarily how important that is, but really what's the important bottom line number that at some future date that we want to take that income for.
That simple versus compounded interest is a key point. I've got a client right now who was sold 2 variable annuities with what she believes is an 8% roll-up rate for the income account. And when we did the math on it, I had one that had a 5% compounded annual rate of return, and in a little less than 5 years, it had beaten her 8%. So that is a critical thing for folks to understand what they have and what they don't have. Do all annuities have this option of adding these income accounts?
Not all annuities have it, but the majority of them do now, and I think the majority of them do because there are consumers. I think the consumer demand in the marketplace today is that they want more guarantees, and so what many people are seeing this is a way to get more guarantees with their retirement income dollars.
So you've got these income accounts that are available on fixed annuities, variable annuities, and indexed annuities. Is there a difference between the income account on a variable annuity as opposed to the fixed annuity?
I don't think that there's a difference per se in the actual income account. I think the real difference is how is the engine of the contract itself. The variable annuity can potentially take on market loss. They also can get real strong market gains. So there's that varying rate of return in the variable annuity. Within the index annuity or the fixed annuity, we're not taking that market loss, if you will. But also there may be some upside. Cap structures, things like that kind of limit your upside as well. So, but as far as getting back to the income account, they're essentially the same, with the differences in, what's the roll-up rate, what's the guarantee period. And that kind of brings me to, I think if you want to really understand these things, you need to ask really 4 standard questions. What is the roll-up rate? That's the very top one. That's what we all want to know is what is that rate of return guarantee that's going to push my income account up. Also, how long is that guarantee period? That's the second question. The third one, and probably what's most important, is what's the actuarial payout at the time that I take income? What is the payout number? What's the bottom line number? Because that's the most important. And then the fourth one, and this is probably equally as important, what's the fee structure? What are the fees that I'm going to pay to have these contractual guarantees on the contract?
I totally agree with that. If you just joined us today, this is the Wealth Guardian Show. We have Mr. Brian Bailey as our special guest, and we're talking annuities, myths, misconceptions, the good, the bad, the ugly. What I'd like to do right now, if you've got an annuity that you don't understand, if you've got one of these income accounts with, say, a 6 or 7% guaranteed rate of return or even an 8%, and you can't quite wrap your mind around what it is and what it isn't, give us a call and let's talk about it. I'll tell you the straight scoop on what you got, and I'll tell you if I think it's good, and I'll tell you if I don't think it's right for you. Call us at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. So these income accounts, you and I have had debates about them. My feeling is I've been in this business 28 years now, and I know how people feel about their retirement accounts, and that's where most of this money's going, in the retirement accounts. I got a feeling that these income accounts are not going to be utilized as much as maybe the insurance industry believes. I just got a feeling that people are just going to go back to the old-fashioned way of just taking standard withdrawals, maybe setting up as a monthly income or just lump sum whenever they need it. Or if they've got to take that required minimum distribution, they'll just take it out as just a withdrawal. What's your gut instinct?
I think you're right on the mark. What we're seeing now, and I ask this question to a lot of advisors that I work with all across the country, from North Carolina to Texas to California. The question I do usually ask is, how many of these clients are you putting income riders on their contracts? And the numbers are high. And then my secondary question is, well, how many of the clients are you actually seeing them turn on the income? And that answer is relatively low. I think I asked you the same question the other day, Doug, and it was, you said, not very many. That's my grand fear, I think, in this industry is that, what is it that we're selling to the consumer? And, should they be getting this or should they not be getting it? I look at these income riders, to me, as almost a love-hate relationship. I love them when they fit, and I hate them when they don't fit. And more often than not, they are not fitting the scenario that was originally designed for.
Well, in retirement planning, there's a lot of ways we can skin that cat, and rarely in my work do I add the income rider on there, because I don't believe they'll ever use it. And why add the extra fee drag if you don't believe they'll ever use the thing? There's one company I know of out there, you know it too. They give the client one for free. It's a relatively low return right now. But in that case, they have it. It's a freebie, and that's no big deal. But generally speaking, you're talking about at least another 0.5% all the way up to as much as a whole percentage point in extra fee drag for these income accounts. Right.
I mean, the fee drag is so important. That's one thing that I like to talk about a lot with advisors. I'll give you an example. This is one that I actually looked at a couple days ago with an advisor, and so he had a 60-year-old client, had $100,000. He wanted an illustration on what the roll up and then what the payout was going to be for the client. So this particular carrier that I was looking at actually gave the client a 10% upfront bonus in their account, and then also on their income account, and then it had a 6% roll up. So we go back to that sort of guarantee. This is the 6% roll of that income account. So what I talked about with the advisor was, let's look at the bottom line. I'm not really concerned about what the roll up's going to do. I want to know what the bottom line is. So if we held out for 5 years, that bottom line number, the payout would be a little over $7,000, so $7,200 the client was going to receive for the rest of their life. So then I said, well, when is the client going to turn the income on? And he said, well, I don't really know. I said, well, let's look at when it makes sense and when it doesn't make sense to turn the income on. In this case, if we went out for 5 years and we turned income on, and he lived through life expectancy, so that's age 65, he lived for 20 years through life expectancy, he would receive from the insurance company $144,000 and some odd change. Okay, and that may make some sense. If you have your income plan designed that way. I said, well, let's hold out for 10 years. What if we hold out for 10 years? What's the bottom line number? If he held out for 10 years, the bottom line number would be $10,638. If he, again, lived to life expectancy, that's 15 years from that point up to age 85, the payout number they would receive $159,570. Okay? What if he lived what if you started the income at age 75?
Got about a minute left, Brian.
Yeah, sorry. So that would put us at $14,480. The number would be $144,890. at that point, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You have a diminishing return. So to me, it made a lot of sense to turn that on earlier instead of holding out later.
So I guess the bottom line is this, folks. Annuities are very, very appropriate when put together properly in your overall retirement plan. Don't just listen to one financial advisor who says, I hate annuities or I hate anything. You know, a mutual fund could be perfectly well placed in a portfolio if it's the right design. So give us a call at 336-391-3409. Let's have that conversation. Let's discuss what you have in your retirement plan and if it's right for your future. You've been listening to the Wealth Guardians right here on 94.5 WPTI, the Piedmont's News Talk and Sports Station.